Obscure City is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding heaven. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com. The world is filled with a lot of strange and unexplained phenomena, some more threatening than others. But know that no matter how dark or weird things get, you can always persevere with a little bit of courage. Greetings fanboys and fangirls, I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and happy Halloween! Today, our spooky story begins in New York in 1991, where a gifted animator named John R. Dilworth had started his own animation studio, Stretch Films, producing animated shorts for festivals and MTV. In 1996, Cartoon Network was looking for animated shorts to be a part of the world premiere Toons show. Dilworth was one of the young talents chosen to contribute to the show, so in conjunction with the legendary Hanna-Barbera, Dilworth produced a short called The Chicken from Outer Space, starring a character that Dilworth had created for an earlier short called Hamilton. No, not him. Now rechristened Courage. In the short, this perilous purple pooch protects his elderly owners from alien invaders. And the short went on to do so well that it was nominated for an Academy Award. And even though it lost said award to Wallace and Gromit, it was still one of the shorts chosen to be made into a full series. And thus, the mayhem and mystery began.
The plot.
Abandoned as a pup, Courage was rescued by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband, Eustace Bagg. Creepy stuff happens in nowhere, so it's up to Courage to save his new home.
The things I do for love.
Character design and animation.
The characters, of course, were designed by Dilworth himself in his signature style, giving the show a unique look that made it stand out amongst all the other animated shows that were on TV at the time. Like the original short, the animation was handled by Hanna-Barbera, and progressively, the quality of which would get better from season to season.
Where's the heat?
Cast and characters.
This show had lots and lots of bad guys, as there was a brilliantly unique threat in nearly every episode. And while there were a few recurring villains, these characters were never truly developed very much, as that was never the focus of the show. Nonetheless, some of these notable antagonists include Shirley the Medium, played by Mary Testa, who's not evil per se, but is always the cause of the conflict in every episode that she's in.
Upon your shiny head, a curse.
Ma Bag, played by Billy Lou Watt, who starts out as an emotionally abusive mother, but from one episode to the other, becomes a Lex Luthor-level megalomaniacal capitalist.
I got a new job running this place.
Le Quack, played by Paul Schofler, a slippery and sinister master thief.
Le Quack is back.
Encourages arch nemesis, the master criminal, Katz, also played by Paul Schofler.
No dogs allowed.
So if this show didn't focus on the villains or the threats, what did it focus on? That would be our three excellent main characters and how all the crazy paranormal activity would affect them. So let's talk about the Bagg family, starting with Eustace Bagg, played by Lionel Wilson and Arthur Anderson. Sadly, Lionel Wilson had to leave the show midway through production due to health issues and was replaced by Arthur Anderson, who did such a great job of matching him that most people can't tell the difference. Eustace is your stereotypical cranky old man. He's greedy, selfish, and certainly doesn't deserve all the love, care, and patience that he receives from his family. But above all, the thing that incurs his wrath is Courage. Ultimately, Eustace is jealous of all the love and attention that Courage gets from his wife Muriel, so he takes out his frustrations on the poor pooch as often as he can.
Oh, hello, Muriel.
Muriel Bag, played by Thea White. She is the loving, nurturing Scottish caretaker that is the absolute opposite of Eustace. So much so that one has to wonder how such a hateful man got such a wonderful woman. Muriel is the glue that holds this family together. Henceforth, she is the one who's most threatened by the paranormal peril of the week. And as per usual, it's up to Courage to save the day. But don't get me wrong. Muriel is a tough country lady who on many occasions has been the one to save Courage.
They can take my old photos. They can take my identity. But when they take my courage, they've gone too far.
Courage the Cowardly Dog, played by Marty Grabstein. I feel like cowardly is a misnomer. Courage might be phobic and nervous, but he is often the first to brave impossible dangers to do the right thing. Plus, he has good reasons to be so jumpy, as he was abandoned by his parents when he was a puppy. Later, we find out that they were actually kidnapped by a mad scientist and launched into space, but Courage doesn't know that, so his trauma remains. However, that terrible experience also made him very protective of his new family. Well, Muriel, at least. He is forever her faithful companion who will do anything and everything to protect her, which in my opinion makes him the greatest fictional dog of all time. For brave are those who fight, but braver are those who are afraid, but fight anyway.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but it better be good!
Season 1.
Courage never had seasonal story arcs. The show was episodic and formulaic. Most episodes were comprised of 2 11-minute segments, and generally, these segments would follow the same formula. Either a supernatural threat would come to nowhere, or the Bags would encounter said threat in their travels. Muriel would end up in danger, and then Courage would come to the rescue. Lather, rinse, and repeat. So if this show was so repetitive, why was it still worth watching? Because the supernatural threats were always ridiculously original. And outside of Courage almost always getting his exposition from his sarcastic British computer, played by Simon Preble, the solution to saving Muriel and stopping the threat was generally what you least expected. So yeah, while the general story beats were predictable, everything else was not. Courage premiered on November 12, 1999, and was the highest rated premiere Cartoon Network had at the time. Notable segments this season include The Demon in the Mattress, which has probably the first exorcism in an animated kids show. A Night at the Cat's Motel, which is a tribute to Psycho as well as classic horror. And Little Muriel, where Muriel gets turned into a bratty spoiled toddler voiced by the great Kath Soucie. But Courage still remains faithful to her no matter how terrible she is to him. Also, this segment remains the most quotable in the entire series.
More cheese and macaroni.
Season 2.
While the animation in Season 1 was fine, it still improved magnificently for Season 2, giving the show that clean, stylized look that it's now known for. Notable segments this season include The Magic Tree of Nowhere, where Courage fights to protect the magical wish-granting tree from being chopped down. This one is one of the saddest and most touching segments in the entire series. One that demonstrates that this show wasn't just laughs and thrills, but a powerful, brilliant drama as well. And The Tower of Dr. Shalost, the first episode to be comprised of a full 22-minute story, as opposed to 2 short segments. And the epic dial gets turned up to 11. As Courage has to save the entire town of Nowhere from being plunged into a permanent state of depression by Dr. Shalost and his unhappy cannon.
Season 3.
By this season, it really felt like the creators had found their stride, producing their very unique brand of comedy and horror. Some notable segments this season include Courage vs. Mega Courage, which is both a brilliant commentary on the misuse of technology, and on top of that, John Dilworth's love for Godzilla is on full display. Seriously, Ghidorah cameos half a dozen times throughout the series. Hard Drive Courage.
which makes use of multiple styles of animation in one single segment. And so in Louvre are we too. Long before Night at the Museum, the bags accidentally get locked inside the Louvre overnight during a holiday in Paris, only to find that every night all the masterpieces on display come to life. The usual shenanigans ensue during a beautiful tribute to classic art.
A royal flush? Get out of here!
Season 4.
It is unclear whether or not the creators knew that this was going to be the final season, so whether it was by accident or design, this season includes some of the best segments that the series ever had. Like the Nutcracker, which is a loving reinterpretation of the classic ballet.
Ah, Courage, I knew you'd save me.
And segments that actually got topical, like The Uncommon Cold, which deals with the subject of slavery, and The Mask, where Courage saves a female rabbit named Bonnie from an abusive relationship. John R. Dilworth says that to this day he is shocked that those episodes made it to air. There's also Squatting Tiger, Hidden Dog, a tribute to Hong Kong martial arts cinema. Last of the Star Makers, another beautifully sad episode where Courage fights to save a dying alien's babies. My personal favorite, Ball of Revenge, where all of Courage's enemies join forces and challenge him to an epic game of dodgeball.
Time out! Time out!
And last but not least, Remembrance of Courage Path, where we get to find out Courage's origin, as well as the fate of his parents.
Isn't it grand being together? Our cozy wee family.
Courage the Cowardly Dog ended on November 22nd, 2002. And there's no dramatic story behind the show's cancellation. 52 episodes were ordered, 52 episodes were delivered. Plus, Courage the Cowardly Dog was one of those rare shows where the reruns would perform just as well as the new episodes. So it would have been financially irresponsible for Cartoon Network to order more episodes. But don't fret, as the end of the show didn't actually mark the end of our favorite paranormal pooch.
Fog of Courage.
In 2013, John R. Dilworth and his team put together a 7-minute computer-animated pilot for a Courage the Cowardly Dog revival, as CG animated shows were all the rage at the time. Marty Grabstein and Thea White returned as Courage and Muriel, but sadly Arthur Anderson had retired due to health issues, so he was replaced by none other than Wallace Shawn.
Inconceivable!
The pilot is fine. It hits all the story beats from your standard segment of the original show. It's just kind of tame compared to the edgier, more meaningful episodes that the show was known for. And while the animation is good, it just doesn't compare to traditional hand-drawn animation. Thankfully, this was not Courage's final curtain, and our favorite courageous canine would get the finale that he deserves.
Straight out of nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog.
And yes, there is a segment of Courage the Cowardly Dog called Scuba Scuba Doo, so it seems like this was always meant to be. Once again, Marty Grabstein and Thea White would return as Courage and Muriel, but with the legendary Jeff Bergman as Eustace, who may not perfectly match Arthur Anderson, but is really good in the role. This time around, the bags cross over with the Mystery Incorporated gang, still played by the same amazing cast, as a mysterious high-frequency sound seems to be negatively affecting their canine companions. So Mystery Incorporated travels to nowhere and team up with the bags to find the source of the sound, and what exactly does it have to do with the sudden string of giant cicada attacks. Sadly, John R. Dilworth was not involved with the production of this feature. But I have to hand it to the creators, as they did manage to capture the spirit and tone of the series, and the entire feature is stuffed with Easter eggs and references to the show. But there is still one scene that makes it 100% clear that John R. Dilworth had nothing to do with this. Eustace raps.
I'm a well-to-do dude with a 1% freaking nightmare.
This is one of those things that is so corny and cringy that it comes back around to being awesome. Or should I say, cool in an uncool way. Yeah, I just don't see John R. Dilworth signing off on that. A breakdancing contest, however. Anyway, this feature is fantastic and I highly recommend it. It highlights both franchises beautifully. It presents a lot of great crossover moments, and it gives Courage and his cast the send-off that they deserve.
Oh, Courage, you caught that nasty bug. Well done, sweetie.
Sadly, Thea White passed away just a few months before this feature was released, and as far as I'm concerned, she was the heart and soul of Courage the Cowardly Dog, and there is no series without her. So myself and most fans consider this crossover to be the final installment of the series.
Final verdict.
The best way that I can describe this series is that it's horror-themed comfort food. The very definition of spooky fun. A show that gave us legitimately chilling horror moments, counterbalanced with lovable characters, meaningful stories, and memorable moments. Courage the Cowardly Dog stands in a class of its own as a horror sci-fi comedy drama that is twisted and brilliant and heartwarming all at the same time. And there will never be another show like it. 10 points on the badassitude meter. Get yourself a big bowl of macaroni with extra cheese. Make sure you have plenty of vinegar and give it a watch. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.